Here.
Eagle.
Here.
Whitley.
Here.
Chisholm.
Here.
Walters. Heck.
Here.
12 present.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion of approval of minutes. But
Move to
before
approve.
anybody does that, if you would, please remember, if you have something to say, use this handy little microphone in front of you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Barbara, second by CJ. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Reports and proclamations. Don't have any old business on the agenda or proclamations.
Title only.
Read the A and B title only.
Been a motion made to read Exhibit A and Exhibit B by title only.
Second.
Second.
We've got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Exhibit A.
Second.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of Saline County, State of Arkansas, and orders to be entitled an orders to amend the 2023 Saline County Budget Ordinance Number 2022-36 to appropriate and transfer funds therefore to various budgets and for other purposes.
We have a motion by JR and a second by Barbara. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hatcher.
Yes.
Billingsley.
Yes.
Howell.
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Alvarez.
Yes.
Engel.
Yes.
Whitley.
Yes.
Chisholm.
Yes.
Walters. Heck.
Yes.
Bisbee.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-9.
Ordinance passes. Exhibit B.
Move to approve. Second.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of Saline County, State of Arkansas, and orders to be entitled an orders to amend the 2023 Saline County Budget Ordinance Number 2022-36 to appropriate and transfer funds therefore to various budgets and for other purposes.
Everett or Carlton? Carlton, and second by CJ. Any discussion?
Yeah, Micah couldn't be here tonight. She said she regrets that. I think she's a little under the weather. She's been working towards this. The law does say that anytime certain funds in her office build up over $1 million, she sweeps those into county general, and she was really proud that she was able to sweep those into county general.
It's a testament to the stewardship of that office, for sure.
Very good.
Yes.
Very, very good.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Billingsley.
Yes.
Howell.
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Alvarez.
Yes.
Engel.
Yes.
Whitley.
Yes.
Chisholm.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Heck.
Yes.
Bisbee.
Yes.
Hatcher.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-10.
Move to suspend the rules and include Exhibit C, add-on. Oh, and to read by title only.
Been a motion made to suspend the rules and read by title only, seconded by Mr. Keck. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Exhibit C.
Move to approve.
Second.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of Saline County, State of Arkansas, and orders to be entitled an ordinance amending ordinance number 2016-3 to revise the Saline County Planning Board's rules and regulations.
We have got a motion by Mr. Keck, second by Ms. Howell. Is there any discussion?
Howell.
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Alvarez.
Yes.
Engel.
Yes.
Whitley.
Yes.
Chisholm.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Heck.
Yes.
Bisbee.
Yes.
Hatcher.
Yes.
Billingsley.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-11.
Ordinance passes. Or does anybody have any discussion or items to bring up? Well, I do.
Okay.
I would like everybody to know that on March 30th at 6 p.m., the community and the county is getting together. March 29th is actually National Vietnam Memorial Day. On the 30th at 6 o'clock, we will be gathering here. You'll see some advertisement on the courthouse lawn. If there's any community members that want to be involved, please feel free to contact the county judge's office. But we're going to make much of that day. We're also going to memorialize the 10 people from Saline County that lost their lives in fighting in that war. And we have a lot of community involvement that's going to go on that day. My biggest goal is, I've told people to really mess up the traffic flow around the courthouse at about 5:45 and until it's over. I would imagine it'll last till about 7 o'clock, but what a great time to get everybody together on the courthouse lawn for something that's so important, like our freedom and those that gave their lives and their families for it. So please join us at 6 o'clock on March 30th at the memorial on the courthouse lawn. Are there any other announcements?
What day is that, Judge?
That's a Thursday.
Thursday.
The 29th, just so you know, the 29th falls on a Wednesday. It was decided by a group that wasn't going to be the best evening to have it here on the courthouse lawn. It's also recognizing the 50th anniversary of calling the troops home, as they called them home in 1973. So again, please join us, spread the word. You're going to be able to see a lot of communication that's going to go out through social media. You'll see some billboards around town, some banners, and the courthouse lawn. I'm excited to see what it looks like for this very special occasion. Any other announcements before we go to public comment? Okay, we're going to move to public comment. Before we move to public comment, I just want to say, please, when I call your name, come up. You're going to have 3 minutes. I'm going to preface public comment with, this is a time for our community members and citizens testify, give comment for 3 minutes. The decorum of this meeting is not to cheer nor boo the person that is giving testimony to the Quorum Court tonight. Please show respect in the decorum of this court. First person I'm going to call is David Gibson. If you would state your name to be recognized.
Hey, David Gibson, I live in District 9. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak. I know I've set where you're sitting. I'm going to talk just for a moment about secure paper ballots, but I'm going to go with a different one. You know, somebody recently said, status quo will not disrupt itself, and that's true. It's easy to go along with status quo. It's easy to go with the flow. But what's hard is to stand up and have a voice. Over the past few months, several people have came up here and they've had concerns about our voting process, not about Saline County, but about what they're seeing all over the United States. So let's not narrow this down to Saline County. This is a United States issue. And anyone who believes that Joe Biden got 12, maybe more votes than the most popular president in the history of our nation, I have some land that's oceanfront property on Edison that I would like to sell you. Because the reality is, there's absolutely no way. Now, while I can't really drill down too far with that, I want to say this. Somebody who's talking about status quo, what drives that? What changes status quo? Well, it's people being willing to get uncomfortable and to state the facts. So what I want to do is reach out to every elected official and say this. Doesn't matter whether you believe the electronic voting is solid and foundational or if it has some holes in it, the people deserve to be heard. And the elected officials, I'm going to pick on you for a minute. Some of the things I've heard this last month, well, these things aren't acceptable. What we have to understand is the voice of the people is what you should be listening to. whether you agree with it or not, you can't, you're not here to determine if they're right or if they're wrong. You're not here to say they don't know what they want. What you're here to do is to be a voice for those individuals. Now, you haven't, this is not new, you've heard this before, but I want to share two facts with you. According to Security Magazine, there are over 2,200 cyber attacks each day. That's every 39 seconds, there's a cyber attack. Each day, an estimated 30,000 sites are hacked each day. So why do we believe that this can happen to our voting process? Why is it? I don't understand why there's such pushback with this. I get it, it's difficult, and it would be going against the grain. But again, the people who have came here over the last month or two, they are saying we have concerns. So please remember, we're not here to ridicule, we're not here to condemn, we're not here to shame them. Steve Lux mentioned a book, How to Steal an Election. You know what's important about that? Is that was 50 to 73 years ago. We can't say that's the same thing that it is today. So thank you for your time, thank you for your work.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Hey, David, could I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I was just curious what you've heard over the last month.
You know, I really don't feel comfortable sharing that. I'll share it with you after the meeting, but
Okay.
in this kind of a setting especially, it's just unacceptable comments that are being made. And I
Okay.
think sometimes people forget the voters are the ones who, I mean, their voice matters. And we've got to make sure, if y'all want respect, we've got to give that same respect right back.
Okay. Can I say something, Judge?
Mr.
Or you want me to wait
Chisholm,
till- You know, last week I think we took a pretty good dressing down, and we all were quiet about it. But you know, we hear y'all. I hear you. And I'm sure the rest of the people on this Quorum Court hear you. I got respect for everybody on this Quorum Court. I want to tell y'all that tonight. I think y'all some smart people, probably smarter than I am when it comes to state government and county government. But I can tell you this, I take my job serious. And I want to do what's right for the people of Saline County. I don't think I'm owed an apology for some of the things that I've heard be said. But I think the other 120,900 people that have a voice in this county do. And I've talked to a lot of them, and I'm going to continue talking to them. I'm trying to find out what they want. But we've heard y'all. I've heard y'all. But I've got a lot of constituents out there in District 11, and I'll go ahead and say this. I have yet to have one person tell me they're for one-day voting. There's a lot of elderly people that live out there that couldn't go vote if it was any other way. I've got a bunch of people that work in the medical field. Now, you know what? Me and my sister were raised to go vote. My dad wasn't that political. But one thing he taught us, when there was an election, I don't care if it was school board, we go vote. There's men that died and gave their life for you to have that right, and so we go vote. And there's some people they're gonna do whatever they have to. They'll take a day of vacation to go vote. Not everybody's able to do that. There's a lot of nurses that work 12-hour shifts that can't, if we had one-day voting, there's no way they could go get their vote in. I think there's some of these things that, let me finish. I got one more thing to say, and then you can talk. But I got one more thing to say. But you know, I believe that the voting machines can be.
Hey, Mr. Judge, I got a point of order here. Mr. Chisholm, I think you're supposed to address your comments to the chair.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This
Okay.
isn't a place for debate,
I'm sorry.
so
Okay.
Okay.
not a place for
You can
debate.
continue,
Okay,
though.
You can continue, but
I'd like to say one more thing. You know, I know that people are hacking bank accounts. There's people out there that's smart enough that they, instead of working, they sit at home and try to figure out how to beat the system. But my question is, I was sitting in my chair the other night and I got to thinking about this. Can those voting machines be manipulated? I'm sure there's somebody out there that's smart enough that can do that. But I also think that when we go to hand count ballots, who are you going to get to count them? You going to trust them? You don't trust the barcode. You don't trust the machine. Or you going to trust these 50 people that you're going to have go vote them, or count them, or you gonna have them count them 3 or 4 times? That's just some questions that I've had in my mind, but I'm sorry, Judge.
I wanna be,
I'm
I wanna be
through.
clear. I wanna be clear here.
Okay.
Are you directing a question to someone?
No, I'm through.
Okay,
I just,
thank you. Angela
I've had
Gray.
that on my mind for a while, and I just wanted to get it on.
Thank you. Angela Gray?
I'm Angela Gray. I spoke to y'all last week, Jim Scrumley wasn't here, but, I spoke last week about the indoctrination happening right here in Saline County with respect to the library books and the children's section. And the more I look into the subject, the worse it becomes. The subject isn't going away. Our county libraries are members of the American Library Association. I don't know if y'all know that, but, the ALA is a left-wing organization that lobbies for tax dollars against the conservative values represented in this red county. A few weeks ago, I had a survey that I surveyed some of the libraries across the state concerning their alignment with the ALA's policies. Let me read you some of the responses from the Saline County Library. I called the Bryant branch of the Saline County Library, and I asked them about that if they referenced the ALA's policy in their in the library. They said yes, they did. I also asked them about if librarians should be exempted from state obscenity laws, which is concerning, I don't know if y'all are following SB 81. They refused to answer. I was asking them about obscene material. And they told me that there was no obscene material in the library because they purchase from publishers and they have to follow rules. And they also told me that kids have First Amendment rights concerning what they check out. So you're not supposed to know, if your child checks it out, based on what they believe that you don't have the right to know what's on their library card. This has been documented as well in the minutes of the Saline County Library Board meeting. The librarians live in a make-believe world where if they deem this material as acceptable, then it is regardless of the views of the community. Let's talk about the children's ability to access explicit books. These two books and this one's a real great book. Just lovely, lovely book. Were the topic of a press conference that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis held last week. And were checked out online using my 9-year-old's library card without even, go ahead.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay, without even entering the library. They were placed in the Amazon-style lockers outside the library. They were then picked up, any questions, sent an email to my parent account or anything. And up there, with your Saline County Library card, you can access a Libby or Overdrive system to borrow digital books. So if the book isn't even on the shelf, you can simply borrow it as an ebook. The book is gay was borrowed using my 9-year-old's library card. And again, I didn't receive anything. This is categorized as a young adult book explicit content.
Ms. Gray, that's all of your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, one
I got a
comment
question.
on that.
I got a question.
Hold on just a second. You recognize Justice Kay.
I think it is important that once SB 81, I think it's going for the House floor tomorrow, Josh.
I just looked
It's
it
what I'm
up.
showing here, it goes to the House floor tomorrow. We probably need to take a look at that once it gets, if it gets approved by the House and gets signed. For our own edification too, because ultimately I think we have, even though we don't control the funds of the library, I think we do have overall responsibility for it.
Certainly, it came out of committee today.
Yeah, it came out of
And
committee.
out of my research that I've done.
But it's showing it's on the House calendar for tomorrow.
There's a real possibility that it gets through the House and passed into law as early as the end of this week.
Judge, if I may, and I would just like to say that we appreciate the research, or I do, and I'm very concerned about this issue, and
Yes.
we'll see how this goes with the state, and also would like to follow up with whatever we can do from the county perspective. But thank you.
Thank you. Justice Curtis. Julia Norris. Identify yourself and I will start the clock.
I'm Julia Norris, a Saline County resident, third vice chair of the Saline County Republican Committee, and vice president of the Saline County Republican Women. Tonight, I'd like to compare the use of voting computers to secure paper ballots. First, when using a voting computer, voter intent is not always accurately reflected. The computers have been known to switch votes right on the screen, which is blatant, because a voter who can see this. But however, most voters don't check their ballot before placing it into the tabulator. Meanwhile, a secure hand-marked paper ballot accurately reflects the voter's intent because the voter actually marks the ballot, not the computer. Next, when the voter places his ballot into the tabulator, he's playing Russian roulette. Why? Because the tabulator reads the computer-generated barcode, not the voter-marked circles on the ballot. The voter is literally at the mercy of whomever programs the computer to read the barcodes. With the current system, there's no way for a voter to know that his vote counted as he intended, and this is the subject of a lawsuit currently working its way through the courts. Our county clerk's office likes to quote the logic and accuracy tests. Simply put, the county election commission could run a test on Monday afternoon and all check out okay, but an algorithm could have been planted to activate on Tuesday morning. All kinds of things can happen inside the machines without the knowledge of the election commissioners or the county clerk's office. No one in Saline County can tell you with 100% certainty that there is no modem, no remote start, no bugs, and no pre-planted algorithms. Meanwhile, paper ballots can be watermarked, numbered, handled, and counted in public by local people whose agenda is simply a free and fair election. By involving more individuals, the likelihood of any widespread cheating is drastically reduced. However, just one bad actor could manipulate the machines or the counts. Understand, I'm not accusing our local officials of any wrongdoing. I'm just pointing out that the machines are vulnerable to hacking or programming by bad actors. I hope you'll consider these points as you work through the process. It's not fair or reasonable for you all to write off valid concerns in the interest of camaraderie or saving time. Thank you.
Judge, I have a comment.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. You recognize Ms. Curtis?
I listened to House Bill 250 being testified before committee today. There was a direct question to the Secretary of State's office. Does the voting machines have modems in there? If they don't have a modem, they can't be connected to the internet. They testified there's no modems in the voting machines. So just for the record, that's the Secretary of State's office saying that.
Curtis? Allison Gray? You recognize yourself, I'll start the clock.
My name is Allison Gray. I'm a lifelong Saline County resident and concerned citizen. Although there are 13 of you, it is apparent to me that there aren't many voices on this Quorum board. I find it unusual how every item brought before this board is passed unanimously and without any discussion. Is this practice in the best interest of your constituents? Each of you have a voice. Each of you are individual and separate. It isn't necessary to give in to peer pressure. Your constituents elected you to represent them. You were not elected by your fellow members. Your average meeting time in 2021 was 18 minutes per meeting, and in 2022, 27 minutes per meeting. Not be that much of an inconvenience to this court. Your constituents are dependent upon you to make good, informed, well-researched choices. The voters elected you to do your jobs and represent them to the very best of your ability, not to just represent everything without question. Whether it be appointments, resolutions, budgets, purchases, or regarding election integrity, the decisions which are made in this court impact Saline County for better or for worse. When this body makes decisions too quickly and recklessly, it harms Saline County.
I encourage all of you to begin asking questions and having discussions. Failing to speak up can result in poor choices. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. Quorum Court members,
I'd like to make a comment, please.
Mr. Bellinger, you recognize.
And for the last 3 meetings now, we've listened to a small group of our constituents talk about going back to paper ballots. And I've done a lot of research on this. I've listened to Colonel Conrad Reynolds' side of the story on going to paper ballots, which is where most of these people are getting their information from. And I like Conrad. I was a supporter of his. I don't agree with him on this particular item. Some of the facts that they're missing out on, when they say there's no paper trail, we do have a paper trail with our ballots, with our electronic systems. We passed a resolution here at the last Quorum Court meeting encouraging the Election Commission to follow that paper trail and do the checks and balances that will prove that the machines are working correctly. And, the last meeting that we had, I was very angry at some of the comments that were made toward this Quorum Court. Our integrity was called into question, our courage was called into question, our backing of the party was called into question. And just because there is a small minority of you that feel that we need to go to paper ballots, the majority of my constituents that I have spoken to are firmly against going back to paper ballots. They like the system the way it is, they trust the system the way it is, and until you can show some fact, that's a key word here, we work on fact, that there's something wrong with our system, I doubt very seriously that anybody on this Quorum Court will move to do anything different. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellinger. Mr. Chisholm, you want to be recognized?
I do.
You're recognized.
I'd just like to take a moment to thank you and thank these ladies over here that put these meetings together. I think sometimes people don't realize that we all get emails on this, sometimes 4 or 5 days in advance, and we've already read over some of these before we ever get here. So we know what ordinances that we're voting on before we ever sit down in this chair. And I just like to recognize these ladies. And hey, I appreciate the work y'all do, because I know putting all this together is not easy. But thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Chisholm.
May I speak to something, Judge?
Mr. Willie?
I would just like to comment on what Mr. Bellinger said for just a moment, and would like to maybe inform folks that maybe haven't been to many Quorum Court meetings in their life that Saline County, for a long time now, it's not always been this way. And the reason that I personally chose to go into politics at all was because I saw some things that I didn't like. And I appreciate all these voices. I do appreciate the voices of people willing to stand up and say that, things need to change. And I understand that, whether I agree with you or disagree with you. I respect your ability to stand and say those things. But whenever you do call into question the motives of the members of this court that have, with a great level of integrity, served this county, and this county is a model for other counties around the state. It is a model, and it used to not be. But before you call into question the integrity of this court and the members of this court, I would advise you to personally do a little bit more homework than just timing our meetings. But that's all I have to say. But basically, you're really, a person should check their own integrity before they call someone else's into question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Willie.
I will say that I've been on the losing end of 3 issues. One issue I've been on the losing end 3 times on. One of them was a 1-12 vote. But I feel strongly, I'm going to keep on fighting. Hopefully get another 6 people to come to my side eventually. But you know, that's it. I feel strongly about this issue, and I'm gonna keep on coming back to it. But I think, people will stop bringing this issue to me, because they know I lost 1 to 12 last time. But anyway, I just wanna mention that I did get an email a few weeks back. I've answered every email, and one of the emails said that I'm a bought vote. Well, you go look how small my house is. It wasn't much of a, well, I'm not gonna even go down that road, but I think that was rude, and I just wanna mention that.
Thank you, Mr. Ashby.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Barbara, no discussion. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night.
All right, do it.